Alright guys, a few days later and I've got all my parts. I got some extra fuel line, I got an air filter replacement because I'm not running that coiled piece of crap inside my air filter. New starter motor for the T-Maxx. This is to replace that exhaust tube that was all ripped up. I'm pretty sure you remember seeing it. This right here is air filter oil. Whenever you clean these, always put air filter oil in them. Don't run these dry. I got 40 weight shock oil. I've actually got 2 bottles of this. A new air filter for the T-Maxx, or the Rustler, whichever one. And I got a new little wire to use on the T-Maxx because that was missing. So the first thing we're going to do is put the engine back together. The block was cracked on this, and I made a huge score. For $7, I found this block. There's a little bit of rust on the bearing inside, but it spins just so free, nice and smooth. The guy said that the front bearing does leak oil. I do still have the other bearing, so if it does leak a lot, I'll take this back apart, pull that bearing out, and we'll just replace it. But $7 for a block, you cannot beat that deal. Normally these with bearings are going to go for about $25, $26, somewhere in there. So let's get all this cleaned off. Let's get that engine back together. Now, just like with any other job, everything must be clean. Get you a red rag. I don't like paper towels because they leave lint. And then the famous WD-40. I'm telling you, WD-40 can be made to use for anything. Cleaning, lubricating, it doesn't matter. Take stickers off, whatever you want to do. Spray a little bit on your rag and then clean every part of this motor inside and out. This crankshaft was a little bit worse than I thought it was going to be. So what I did is I just grabbed some emery cloth, wrapped it around the crankshaft, make sure it's nice and even, and then just spin it back and forth one way and then the other. Now remember, only spin it this direction, don't go in and out. If you go in and out, that's going to create crevices for fuel to seep through and you're going to have a big leak. But by doing this, if that motor has set for a very long time, which it appears this one has with no afterrun oil, this motor was pretty much gummed up and it wasn't usable anymore. But once you get done sanding it, you're going to get all that crap off of that. It's going to make it nice and smooth. I tried to push this into the bearings and it wouldn't go. But now it just slides right in. It's not loose, but it's enough. And also now it spins nice and free. So now that we got the crankshaft in, it's time to install the piston and sleeve. Again, clean everything. Now I'm sure you guys remember, if I push this up and let go, this should fall under its own weight. It's not. It is still very stiff. It's still got all that crap on it. What we need to do on the T-Maxx, or on any, I think any Traxxas motor, you can't take the pin out one side, but you can take it out the other. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take that retaining ring out, pull the wrist pin out, and then clean every bit of this and then put it back together, and then I'll show you this is going to drop. Now as you can see, there's only 4 parts to the actual piston and rod. The piston, the rod, the wrist pin, and the retaining clip. It kind of looks to me like the bushing where the wrist pin goes through is kind of worn out, but I'm going to risk it. So, but as you can see, that right there, it's not all nice and shiny. It looks just like the crank did, and you remember how bad that crank was. We're just going to clean all of it up, put it back together, and go on about it. Now to clean inside the rod here, you're going to need a little small brush. I'm not going to tell you what this brush is, but anybody that's in the medical field is already going to know what it is. Spray a little WD-40 on your brush and just go into the bushings. Get them all nice and pretty clean. And do this on both of them. After you get both of them clean, lubricate your wrist pin and your rod. Now the rod should just fall. That's the way you want it to be. Make sure to clean out inside the piston too. You don't know what's in there. Now that we got everything clean and lubricated, let's put it back together. First thing you're going to do is you're going to take your rod and you're just going to put it up in there and then kind of hold it like that. Now take your wrist pin, stick it in here, and this part's going to be pretty tight. And then just push it through, and that way, now your rod just falls under its own weight. This is how you want it. The less friction you have in an engine, the more power it's going to make because it's not having power robbed from it. That is exactly what you want. Now we get to have fun trying to put that little bitty clip back into that even smaller hole. That's going to take me a little bit. Basically, you grab it with pliers and you just, it's a counterclockwise turn to get it to snap down in there. Do this over a paper towel, a towel, something where you can find that little thing if and when it's just going to snap and fly away. Now that I've got the snap ring installed into the piston, now you can see that it still has the nice free movement. Instead of using WD-40, we're going to use after-run oil. Always, 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 always. After you guys get done running your vehicles, empty the tank, start the motor, let it get out all of that fuel, and then take your glow plug out, put 2 drops into the cylinder, and then 2 drops into the carburetor. What that's going to do is it's going to keep the methanol from eating that aluminum in the motor. But what we're going to do is we're actually going to lube this thing with some after-run oil. Now, a little bit goes a very long way. You don't want to just soak this thing in this stuff. Now take your piston and rod and insert it back into the block. On mine, the little slot on the rod actually went towards the crank. Yours could be different, maybe, maybe not. Remember how you took it apart though. Once you have your piston in place, take your piston and put it all the way to the top. Lube up your sleeve, and then we're just going to put it down in there. Now don't forget to line up the notch in the sleeve with the little pin on the block. That lines up all of your intake and exhaust ports. Now you've got a nice free motor that should have a lot of compression. Next, we're going to clean our back plate. We're going to clean our head. Be careful of that glow plug. And then we got to put our flywheel on, along with the nut, the collet, the shim, and all the other parts associated that you saw me take off. Putting this motor back together is the exact opposite of taking it apart. I'm going to throw everything back together, and we're going to put it back in the truck. Now that we got the motor put back together, you can actually hear that motor pop over now. Well, what we need to do is we need to replace this electric motor with this one here. As you can see, the positive tab has been broke off. To get it out is as easy as removing those 2 screws. Number 2 Phillips screwdriver, and they come right out. Once you got the screws out, it just simply pulls out. Now make sure there's 2 different kinds of these motors. One of them has the gear out here at the end, the other one has the gear in towards the inside. Get the one with it at the end for this particular T-Maxx. Now also, this comes with a gear that the motor actually rides on. This gear likes to strip out on some of these, especially when there's a heavy load or the motor's locked up like this one was. I'll bet you if I tried to start that motor, I would have stripped the gear out. The gear's still good in here, but I still want to look inside. The way you look inside is you just get a small flat-bladed screwdriver and you just pry these case halves apart. Make sure to leave it like this so you don't lose nothing inside, and then just pull everything up. 2 pins right there, and then all the gears right here. As you can see, this one's metal, this one is half metal, half plastic, and then that one's plastic. There you can see the 3 gears. It looks relatively okay. Looks like just grease is on them, pretty much what you would expect to be on them, and I don't see any abnormal signs of wear. I'm still going to go ahead and replace this one though, so that one can go away. I don't know if you guys can see or not, but way down inside here, there's a shim. Well, you're supposed to put the gears on the shafts, then put the shim on, then put this case over them. The guy that owned this before didn't do that. He left the shim down there and it ended up pressing the edge of the shim down into the hole. That shim's no longer good. I don't have another one. Now we're just going to have to chance it. Now once we have it apart, what I'm going to do is I'm going to transfer these pins into this case. Remember exactly where they go. Now why am I doing this? Because it'll make this so much easier to get these gears into this case. Now anybody that's in automotive is already going to know what this is. If you don't, this is a bearing packer. This is made for real cars. But what I want is I want this grease inside it. And I want to put just a little bit on each one of these gears. Not an excessive amount. Excessive amount will actually rob the power from the motor. Once I feel I have an adequate supply of grease on the gear, just slide it down in there over that peg and move on to the next one. You can also use lithium grease on these. I just don't have any. Once we have all the gears in here, what we want to do is just spin them around and just make sure they spin relatively free. Any excess grease is going to sling off of them and stay on the case. Let's put her back together. Now how simple was that? Now all you got to do, put your motor in, line up your holes, and put your 2 screws back in. Now, do not grease this bearing. This bearing has to be able to grab a hold of something and turn that motor over. Take your electric start, put it on there, 3 bolts, tighten it down. Now you've got your electric start on with your new motor, you got your motor rebuilt, grab your easy start, hook it up, and just see if it works. Sounds good to me. Now that we've got the motor rebuilt, it's time to put it back on the chassis. It's the exact opposite of before. Just set it down in there, 4 bolts. Alright, we're getting closer. Got the motor in, got all the wires hooked up, got the air filter on, got all the fuel lines and pressure lines run, got the gear mesh set. Now, the only thing left is to start it. I've already checked. Everything is working great. The reverse servo is a little weak. But I'm going to be replacing the steering servo. That servo will go onto the reverse. And we'll see what we can do about limiting it because it's got a lot of throw right now. Anyway, we got here some Blue Thunder. Why am I running Blue Thunder? Because they had it. It was only 28 bucks a gallon. And Blue Thunder's Sport formula is made for ready to run vehicles, and it does not like to be run lean. If you run it lean, it just dies. If you get the race formula, now that stuff likes to be run very lean to make the maximum amount of horsepower. But right now, open the tank up, fill her full of some go-go juice. Try not to spill any. One thing I forgot to mention, this motor has almost brand new compression. What was the problem? One, there was no gasket, no copper seal on this glow plug, and the glow plug wasn't tight. These are all things you got to check when you get a new vehicle. Because I replaced that gasket with another glow plug, this thing has, I can't hardly even turn this motor over now. It is absolutely wonderful. I don't even know if this Easy Start's going to be able to turn it over. We're getting ready to find out. Hook your Easy Start up. As you can see, I'm running a front piece back here, so I can't exactly put that where I want to put it. But what you're going to notice is when you start cranking this over, there is a primer button here that you can use to prime it. Now I see it's up in the carburetor. You'll see the fuel start to come through this line into the carburetor. Once it gets in there, leave it alone. Don't flood this motor, or you have to pull the glow plug out, turn it over, hit the starter, empty it out, do it all over again. But you can do it by pumping this, which not every vehicle has, or crank it over and put your finger over the exhaust port. What that's going to do is it's going to pressurize here. It's going to put pressure into the tank and force fuel up into the carburetor. Let's just see if this thing fires. Alright, now as you hear, my one-way bearing is getting a little weak. It's not wanting to grab all the time, but we're going to keep at it. Well, it doesn't look like it's going to start. It looks like I'm going to have to clean that one-way bearing out. Alright, I cleaned the oil. I think I got a little bit of oil on the one-way bearing. I cleaned all that off. So now, let's see what it does. Well, as you can see, I'm still having a few problems with the one-way. It looks like I'm going to have to order another one. But it is starting to fire. Well, as you can see, I'm still having a few problems with the one-way. It looks like I'm going to have to order another one. But it is starting to fire. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, 70, 71, 72, 73, 74, 75, 76, 77, 78, 79, 80, 81, 82, 83, 84, 85, 86, 87, 88, 89, 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, 100, 101, 102, 103, 104, 105, 106, 107, 108 it does run, as a matter of fact. Excellent. Got a one-way bearing issue. I've got another truck I'm going to steal one out of. And, man, we're going to have some fun with this thing, guys. Word of warning, don't do this in an enclosed space. I'm in a garage, which isn't exactly enclosed, but it's enough that it's going to burn your eyes. Do it outside.